Donald Trump appears totally off the rails in a recent series of tweets about the moon and Mars. The tweets are as bonkers as they are hypocritical, neither of which is a shock from the current president. Now, I've been talking about space exploration and NASA funding forever on this program. And sadly, there's a big part of the country that just doesn't see the importance of space exploration. And there's another part of the country that likes space exploration, but only as a military industrial complex sort of testing ground for new weapons and military tech, or as part of expanding American empire and colonialism to space. But in reality, exploring space is a really important thing for humans, an important endeavor for humans to undertake. The ambition and curiosity element are part of it, but that's kind of a more general thing. There's a life-saving component, right? Having the ability to save huge numbers of people from asteroids and comets, but by being able to deflect them could be a really big thing for humanity in the future, depending on how long we think humans can stay on planet Earth. At a certain point, we're going to need some other place to go if Homo sapiens is going to continue existing. Earth is not going to be home to humans forever. It'll probably still be home for a long time, but if we want a place to eventually go, we need to be exploring space. Space exploration could lead to huge developments in mitigating climate change. We don't know what's out there and what we might find and what developments might stem from there. So anyway, Republicans sometimes want to explore space, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they want to do it, but only with private industry instead of NASA. Sometimes NASA is okay. And Donald Trump tweeted over the weekend that we shouldn't go to the moon and that the moon is part of Mars. I guess he means like in a more general sense of space exploration. Donald Trump tweeting very strangely, quote, "For all of the money we are spending, NASA should not be talking about going to the moon. We did that 50 years ago. They should be focused on the much bigger things we are doing, including Mars, of which the moon is a part, defense and science." Trump later tweeting also that moon pie is not really made of moon rocks, right? Under the category of what is extraordinarily obvious. So the immediate reaction is Trump saying that the moon is part of Mars? What is wrong with this guy? What the hell is going on? He's weaponized ignorance. Now, all of those reactions are true and accurate, but I don't think Trump thinks the moon is part of Mars. I believe what Donald Trump is trying to say here is something like the moon is part of the eventual Martian project. Going to the moon in and of itself is a means and not an end, or something like that. I mean, I don't exactly know what he was trying to say, but the most important thing is that this is the opposite of what Donald Trump said 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago, Donald Trump tweeted on May 13th, "Under my administration, we are restoring NASA to greatness, and we are going back to the moon, then Mars. I am updating my budget to include an additional $1.6 billion so that we can return to space in a big way." But then over the weekend, he says NASA should not be talking about going to the moon. We did that 50 years ago. We should be exploring space, no matter what Donald Trump says. We should be funding it. So much technology has come as a derivative from space exploration. And as far as Donald Trump's tweets here, I don't think he literally believes the moon is part of Mars. I think that we should stop trying to read so much into his tweets. These are the rantings of an ignorant and unstable person, period. If you imagine, being on the Boston or New York subway, for example, which I've had the privilege of doing hundreds of times, you don't necessarily try to read into the specifics of what the guy urinating in the back of the subway car is saying about Jesus is coming, right? You don't. You recognize it for what it is. You understand the context and you say, it's not really worth trying to read into so specifically. I think we increasingly need to see Donald Trump's tweets in sort of the same way. These are the erratic, unhinged things that occur to Donald Trump and that he tweets before anybody can actually talk sense into him. I don't know exactly what he meant by the moon as part of Mars. What I do know is that in just 3.5 weeks, Donald Trump appears to have completely done a 180 on whether we should be doing this space exploration and whether we should be going to the moon. And that's the real concern. And that's the concern geopolitically when Donald Trump's whims change and it makes it so that other countries can't see the United States as a reliable negotiating partner, as a reliable partner in all sorts of different ways, which they rightly can't under Donald Trump, because as we've seen with the Iran deal, he will, on a whim, say, even though Iran hasn't violated it, I'm just going to bail out. That's the real danger here. Does Trump think the moon is a piece of Mars? I don't think so. But who knows what Trump really actually thinks. I'm curious what you think Trump meant by this tweet.